Did we not say that Eddie Hearn was all over this now, knowing that he was going to make a jackpot of money from putting this fight on and putting it on in Saudi Arabia? It was going to be in Saudi Arabia. But, it's amazing when you look at it and you go, it says boxing and it's got the picture of Anthony Joshua. And Anthony Joshua has been a dynamite heavyweight. You can look at the losses that he's had, but he's got the 2 to Alexander Usyk, and he's got Ruiz who beat him. But 27-3, that's a very nice record. And then you look over at his opponent, 0-1.
Yeah.
But you're going to get a lot of people betting on that 0-1 because of his performance against Tyson Fury. And so I look at this. I think this is a great matchup. This is one that, Anthony Joshua is the cleaner boxer. No doubt about it. Josh, that he's got the cleaner boxing. But it's the same thing that happened to Tyson Fury. There is something called power that you just have to give respect to. And when it touches you and you go, uh-oh, that can alter the fight. And that's all Francis has to do is touch him that one time. Like you said, put him on his ass one time, and it's going to change everything as far as the confidence that Joshua is going to go in with and all that. It'll all go away with one shot. So that's what makes this fight intriguing. It makes it fun. It makes it one that you look and you go, I don't give a shit what the records are. Yeah, this is a fight I want to see.
There's a bunch of reasons why this fight's intriguing to me. But I'm going to go back to why I gave Francis Ngannou Fighter of the Year not Fighter of the Year, but basically Fighter of the Year.
Yeah, you did. You gave him Fighter of the Year.
Fighter of the Year for me in one of our year-end shows last week was because of moves like this that were going to open up for all the MMA guys. He took a chance on his career to take a step into boxing, and not just boxing, but then he also explored into the PFL realm too, and to see what they could offer him. They're taking care of him big time. He's got big money fights lined up. He's allowed to do boxing right now. This fight's coming really quick. If he has a good performance here, if he sits Joshua down again, he could be 0-2 and still get another big money fight. Isn't that crazy? That's insane. It is. He just put down 2 of the best boxers. Some of these other boxers have never dropped these guys. You know what I mean? And these guys, this is what they do for their career. Now, he is a fighter. Francis Ngannou is a fighter. He's been through everything under the sun when it comes to his life, but he understands that this is just a fight. Things that he's dealt with in his past, this catapults him to understand that this is nothing. This is nothing that he's had to deal with in his life. So this is a sport to him. This is fun for him. This is an opportunity for him to make a ton of money, and I think he's gonna change the outlook of what fighters can do instead of just staying with one promotion. He's going to change that. And I think if he has a good performance here, I think he's already kind of leading the way right now, but I think he's going to make, with a good performance here, a lot of these MMA guys are going to start taking a step back going, okay, I can have 2 careers if I'm not tied down to one promotion. So where can I go to another promotion that allows me to do boxing?
Good point.
This is a way to open up the floodgates for a lot of these fighters to start second guessing. Why am I just fighting one way? Sure, I love training jiu-jitsu. I love training wrestling. I love mixing it all together. When I can spend all this time working on one craft and get 1 or 2 big time fights, against good top level fighters and see how I do. And if it doesn't work, I can always maybe come back, or I can sign with a promotion that allows me to do both. It makes sense. I think if a promotion has, if they're open-minded, they can say, look, if he lost in boxing, it doesn't bother me because that's not MMA. There's so many other
PFL. That's what the PFL's put out there, though. Yeah. And that's good. This all comes down to what we've talked about before. How big is your ego? What is your ego about? Mm-hmm. Is it about I want people to recognize me and I want people to say that I'm one of the best when it comes to mixed martial arts fighting, or is it you want to make money? Mm-hmm. Sometimes those don't coincide.
No.
Sometimes they do. Conor McGregor, yes, it does. But most of the time, it really doesn't. You're going to get a lot of people who got a lot of fame and have a bank account that's got a lot of dust in it. So you got to look and you got to say, hey, what's important? And the one thing that at least that Francis is doing is he's showing people, hey, you can bet on yourself. That's what I did. And that's what he did.
Yeah.
He gambled. There was a lot of money on the table with the UFC as far as for one fight, and depending upon how he did with that fight. Mm-hmm. But he wanted more, and he stuck by, and his wasn't more about money. It was more about freedoms and abilities to do things that interested him. And the promotion had no interest in those things, and he did, and that's why he took off and went somewhere else. And that's why the PFL was where he landed, because they were going to allow him to do those things. That's what, that's what this whole game is about. It's about a, compatibility that you get to do the things, and your, promoter allows you to do those things, even when sometimes it's not in your contract. Look at Michael Page. Michael Page is going to the UFC right now. Michael Page was allowed by Scott Coker. He didn't have it in his contract that he could do bare knuckle boxing, but he was going to make a shitload of money. And then Scott Coker said, how do I keep a guy from making that kind of money for a fight? Go do it. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's the way it should be.
Like I said, the open-mindedness of the promoter, allowing them and understanding that, look, if my guy goes over there and fights him in MMA, if he was to fight Tyson Fury in MMA, Tyson Fury would have mauled him, just destroyed him. But in a boxing match, if Francis Ngannou would have fought Tyson Fury in an MMA fight.
Yeah, you just said that Tyson Fury would have mauled him.
I did. Oh, I'm sorry. I take that back. Sorry, my bad. I said it backwards.
Sorry.
Okay.
I didn't want all the comments going.
Sorry.
Josh Thomson has lost his mind.
So glad you fixed that.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Francis Ngannou would have mauled him. It would have been. He would have been able to take him down. It would have handled him. He would have finished him on the ground, whether submission or ground and pound. He would have destroyed him. And on the feet, we saw that it was competitive. It was back and forth. It was people. It was a very close fight. Now, you can say what you want about Tyson Fury's shape and all the other things. He didn't look the same. I heard all that. Okay. But that's not where I'm going with this. I said this is Francis was able to touch his chin, and that's all it took. And that's all Francis has ever really needed. If I can get to your chin before you get to mine, or I can get to you before I start to get a little bit tired and fatigued, then I could potentially finish you. And look, and he started gaining ground against Tyson Fury in those later rounds. He had some layoff rounds. Like I think rounds 5 and 6, he kind of took those rounds off.
Yeah, I agree.
And he looked a little tired, but then he got his second wins in round, 7, 8, 9, somewhere up in there, as I recall, and he started putting it back together. And so those are the things that I want to see from him in this fight. What I want to say though, the most that intrigues me the most about this, Anthony Joshua is hittable. He does tend to slow down himself as the fight goes on.
Yes.
And I know his chin is
not only hittable.
Yes. It could be destructible.
It's been damaged.
Yeah, it's been hit, it's been clipped, he's been put down, and the person you don't want to stand in front of you when they have that type of power is Francis Ngannou.
Well, see, and this is where people, you can go back. I'll base this off of MMA, and you'll remember, Chuck Liddell's first fight in the UFC. Do you remember who it was?
No.
And no one really does. His name was Noe Hernandez.
Okay.
Noe Hernandez. And Noe Hernandez was out of Iowa. He was a tough boxer, big hands. And Chuck went in there, not to wrestle, to throw hands. And they busted each other up in that fight. And Chuck took some unbelievable shots that he just walked through. And that was Chuck Liddell. Chuck could do that. Chuck could rely on having this chin that, man, you could hit him with a damn sledgehammer and he just kind of went and he just walked forward and boom. And that's what made Chuck who he was. But all of a sudden it only took one, and it was when Rampage Jackson hurt him the second time in the UFC 71. He knocked him out. His chin was never the same. Never. And it was, obviously it had been compromised up to that point. But I don't care who you are or how good you are. When your chin goes, there is no getting it back. No. And it's not that you can't fight. You can. Fedor's chin went, and he could fight because he didn't get, he never got hit with that good shot. But if he got hit with the good shot, you knew, he's going to have problems. And Chuck had those problems and got put out a lot, in the last part of his career. But This is a guy that relied on a granite chin. And Joshua had a decent chin. Not great, decent. And now it's been cracked a couple of times. And you've seen him get hurt. And man, when you talk about the difference of what power does is you don't have to land the perfect shot. You just, the one that grazes can cause that serious damage.
Yeah. 100% agree.